The first tool I want to talk to you guys about is something I created called the Habitual Drummer. Now this is a tool that's really going to help you focus on exactly what you need to practice, and not only that, but it's going to help you focus on how to track that progress. So later, when you get discouraged, you can look back at this and be like, oh man, I accomplished this, I achieved this, I am really progressing into drums. And really that's the kind of kick in the butt we need when we are feeling down or feeling like we're not getting any better. So the Habitual Drummer basically consists of 5 steps. Okay, the first step is simply write down your goals. So what I'd like you to do right now is write down 5 things that you want to achieve on the drums. Don't write something extremely broad down like I want to become a rock star and play in front of 20,000 people. Obviously that goal is something that's going to come down the line, but we want smaller and more achievable goals here. So it could be something like I want to play with this jazz play-along, or I want to learn 3 Latin grooves, or you want to learn better independence between your hands and your feet, something like that. So go ahead, pause this video, write down those goals as well as when you want to achieve them by. Okay, 5 goals and what date you want to achieve those by. The next thing we're going to talk about is called committing to your goals socially. Now, this means when you have a goal, you tell your friends that you have this goal. You tell your family that you have this goal. You tell your wife, you tell your brothers, you tell your pet that you have these goals. Tell everyone that you have these goals. Because if you do that, naturally you're going to feel more inclined to actually want to achieve those goals and actually put in the effort required to achieve those goals. And I think people underestimate the value of social achievement and actually achieving things socially. This brings me back to a story from a while ago where I basically committed socially to 200,000 drummers, because I have a fairly large online following. So I committed to 200,000 drummers through email, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And I said, I'm going to learn this pattern. And I linked to the video. And it's a video of Virgil Donati playing a single paradiddle with between his right hand and his right foot, and a double paradiddle between his left hand and his left foot. So it's this absolutely insane 3-way independence pattern that kind of bleeds into polyrhythms and all this other weird stuff. And I said, I'm going to learn this in 1 week. And so it was absolutely one of the most challenging things I've ever done, because the muscle memory required to do that sort of thing, I completely underestimated it. And so what I normally probably would have spent, 5, 10 hours that week on, I literally was obsessed with it. Because I said, what happens if I don't get this? People are going to be waiting for the video that I post on this. And so I had to do it. And I did it. And if I didn't commit socially to that goal, I would have never done it. So what I want you to do next is take one of your 5 goals, and I want you to post it somewhere where all your friends can see it. I don't care where it is. You could post via email. You could call them up if you want. You could email them. You could do whatever you want. You might be watching this video 20 years from now, and you may have never heard of Facebook or YouTube or any of those things that were around now. So post it wherever your friends hang out now, and I want you to commit to at least 1 goal socially. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, and do that now. So now that you've written down your 5 goals, you've committed to one of them socially, as well as the date of completion for that goal, now what we're going to do is set up a realistic practice routine based around those goals. So what I want you to do is you have your 5 goals written out. Beside each one of them, I want you to look at all 5 of them and rank them hardest to easiest. So you'll have a line of 5 goals, and so those numbers might be out of order, but that's fine. Just rank them hardest to easiest. So for example, here's what I've done when I put together a mock kind of goal setup. The first goal is learn a Virgil Donati paradiddle beat. The second goal is learn a songo beat. The third goal is play Funkity Funk Funk, which is a play along from Successful Drumming. And the fourth goal is do a 16th note based drum solo. And then the fifth goal is your single paradiddle speed. Now, those are the 5 goals I've selected. These aren't necessarily my goals now, but there's some goals that are going to help give us an example of what we need to do. And so now what I've done is I've ranked those hardest to easiest. Okay, so the first goal, Virgil Donati Paradiddle Lick, is obviously the hardest. The second one is learn a songo beat. Songo requires a lot of independence, so I have to spend a little bit more time on that, so that's number 2. The third goal is play Funkity Funk Funk. That's a song from Successful Drumming. That's going to take a little bit more time and requires a little bit more practice on the drum set. The fourth goal is 16th note solo around the kit, and the 5th goal is single paradiddle speed. So now, what I'm getting at here is what I've done is I basically ranked them hardest to easiest, which allows me to allot a certain amount of time to each goal. So let's say you have an hour to practice. How would you split up your time? Would you spend the most time on the easiest thing? No, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to spend the most time on what's the most challenging. And because it's the most challenging goal, it'll also be one of the most rewarding, I feel. So the first goal, the Virgil Donati Paradiddle Lick, that goal is going to get 20 minutes of our time each practice session. Now the second goal is learn a songo beat. Now the songo beat is going to get 15 minutes per practice session. The third goal we're going to do for 10 minutes, which basically allows for around 3 run-throughs of that song. And then our fourth goal, which is a solo with 16th notes, we're going to do for 10 minutes. And then finally, single paradiddle speed, which is something I'll just do on the practice pad for 5 minutes straight. And out of that, I have a 1-hour practice routine based on my unique drumming goals. Now, your goals are going to look slightly different, okay? And you might have the majority of time spent on the top goal. You might have 40 minutes spent on one, and 5 minutes spent on the following 4. You might have them split up evenly because you feel they are all of a more even skill level. Okay, that's totally fine if you do that. But it's very, very important that you do kind of rank your goals and split up your time in this way, because we only have so much time with this instrument. You know, we're not all going to be around here forever, and I'm not saying that in a morbid way, but I know all of us want to make the best use of our time. And the time we spend on the kit, again, is time away from other things. So when we are there, let's not waste it. Let's just make sure we do our absolute best with the time we have. So go ahead, pause this video. I want you to write down this information now. Rank them hardest to easiest, and then set a time frame for each goal, hardest to easiest. Make sure you spend the most amount of time on the hardest goal. Now the fourth step is to basically track your progress. Now this is something I've been saying to do for a long time, but we've never actually put the tools together so you could actually properly track your progress. So you'll notice in the Successful Drumming workbook that we've put together something for you so you can actually track your progress. So if you turn to that page, you'll see at the top there's an area where you list the goal. So just write in your goal. Let's say take your hardest goal right now and write that in there. For me, it's learn a Virgil Donati Paradiddle Lick. Then beside that, there's the time you started, so your start date, and how much practice time you're allotting to that goal. Then below that, you have 2 columns. The first column is the date of the first practice session. So write that in there when you first start practicing this. At the end of that 20-minute practice session, or whatever you allot to that goal, you go ahead and you write in the achievement. So the first time I practiced the Virgil Donati Paradiddle Lick, I did not get it completely at all. I literally got one side. Like, okay, I can play my right hand and my right foot cleanly at a certain tempo, and I can play my left hand and left foot cleanly. Putting them together wasn't even in the front of my mind nor the back of my mind. I couldn't even really comprehend that. And so go ahead and write down what your achievement is the first time. Then from there on out, every time you sit down and practice that goal, you put the date in as well as what you achieved during that practice session. Now, when you're actually practicing these goals, one tip I'd like to give you is don't practice for a little bit and then move on to something else for like 30 seconds. And then practice for a little bit and then lose your train of thought and move on to something else. Really, really focus for that designated amount of time. And once that designated amount of time is up, go ahead and stop, track your progress, and then move on to the next thing. If you need to set a timer, I would even recommend you do that because, you know, it's all about just setting the amount of time and sticking with it, and you'll see measurable progress over time, especially when you're tracking your progress in this way. So you continue to do that the whole way down, okay? You continue to fill out that whole sheet, whether it takes you 5 practice sessions or whether it takes you 4 of these sheets. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you achieve it. Once you're done, you just check the little box at the bottom that says completed. Now, you need to hold on to every single one of these sheets. Okay? It's so important because having this is just such a great testament to where you've come as a drummer. I still keep all of my old practice journals from when I used to take lessons with private teachers. And those teachers would write down certain things and cross them off when I achieved them. And that's just such a good feeling to be able to look back and that, be like, yeah, I used to struggle with that, but I don't anymore. Now, the 5th step I want to talk to you guys about is a very, very simple step, and it doesn't even apply to any of the worksheets or anything like that. But it basically means always end positively. Now, I really strongly feel about this one because I know how detrimental it can be if you finish a practice routine and you throw your sticks against the wall in frustration. I did that, and I put holes in the wall throwing my sticks against the wall, okay? You don't want to do that. You know, leaving your drums angry is not the way to leave your drums. So do your best to stay in a positive mindset when you're practicing these goals. I know it can be challenging because who doesn't want to challenge themselves? And so really, really try your best to stay in a positive mindset, and when you finish practicing your goal, you know, keep that positivity going. Right away, think of what you achieved, even if it is small. Because I know a lot of us, we have these big hopes and big dreams, which is great. I have the exact same thing. And it's important that we don't get down on ourselves because we don't, you know, run a mile when it's better just to take smaller baby steps, okay? If you take 1 step per practice session, it's great. And this is something I heard from Kobus a long time ago. I can't even pronounce his last name, but he's a South African drummer. He says, every time you sit down at the drum set and pick up the sticks and hit the drums, you are progressing at the drums. And I fully, fully believe that. It's just a matter of time spent behind the kit. So in closing, I'm just going to quickly summarize everything we went through. Number 1, write down your goals. Number 2, commit to your goals socially. Number 3, set up a realistic practice routine. Number 4, track your progress. And number 5, always end positively. Okay, so I hope you guys like the Habitual Drummer. I would love for you to just, you know, stop at this video, go to the worksheets with your 5 goals, because you've got those. Those are 5 things you are going to achieve. And just build these progress charts for each one of your goals. Once you do that, you can come back and watch the next portion within the lifestyle section of Successful Drumming.